Hello, I'm Jashikins, and welcome to another episode of Jash Reads. Tonight, we are continuing to read Animorphs number 10, The Android, by K.A. Applegate. And, as always, this video is not intended for kids. Instead, this video is intended for adults who are discovering or rediscovering the joy that is Animorphs. Now, not really Animorphs news, but I am nearly done with Midnight Sun by, I was about to say Kay Applegate. But anyways, I'm nearly done with Midnight Sun by Stephanie Meyer. And, like, so it's really been just the same shit Twilight was, this so bad it's good. So if you enjoy Twilight, you're most likely going to enjoy Midnight Sun. But just a warning of what you'd probably already guess, because it's Twilight but from Edward's point of view. Boy, does it justify stalking. Like if this book had a subtitle, it would be Midnight Sun, a justification of stalking and why it's totally romantic. It's hilarious though. But I'm going to be doing a full length review of it after I finish reading, so subscribe to this channel just for that. And now let's get reading about this happy chapter where everything goes according to plan, because that's the Animorphs way. I somersaulted backward, hit steel floor again, and screeched like a skidding car. I plowed straight into Jake, and a split second later, Cassie plowed straight into me. Cassie, are you okay? Jake asked. Yes, I think so. Who can tell with this roach body? I'm okay too, I said. Just in case anyone cares. I guess they like to keep this building nice and warm, eh? Rachel said. That was very close to being a disaster, Axe said. We should thank the rat. If he had not chased us, we would have been crossing those gas jets several seconds later. That was not a picture to think of. We would have fried, sizzled, and popped open faster than we could even try to think about demorphing. That would have left a big wad of Marcomass floating in Z space. I muttered. I could joke about it, but I was quivering inside. The rest of the trip through the heating and air conditioning system was calm, but that just gave me time to think about the close call. 1 second slower, and I'd have gone out as a roasted spider. There are walls up here, Jake warned from the head of our little pack of singed bugs. No, wait, not walls, like a maze, like Eric said. We traveled through a series of switchbacks, around a steel panel, then back around another. It was a light blocking system. It would block out every last photon of light that might come through the vent. Then we came to the edge of a drop. Beyond it, I knew, was the high security room itself, the location of the Pemalite Crystal. We were 6 feet up. We had to drop and then stay within 2 feet of the wall. Any movement farther toward the center of the huge room, and we would set off pressure sensors in the floor. By this time, we were used to falling. Next, I want to try jumping out of a plane without a parachute, I said as I stepped into the black void. It is an eerie experience falling in total darkness. You have no idea where the floor is. It's almost like you're not falling at all until you hit the bottom. That is, stay close to the wall, Jake reminded everyone. Hug the wall and demorph. I was relieved to be human again, but my human eyes were no better than spider eyes at penetrating the darkness. It was darker than any night, darker than hiding in a closet at midnight. This was the darkness of being buried alive. There could be 6 Hork-Bajir standing 3 inches away, and we wouldn't know it, I said, in a whisper that seemed to be deadened by the darkness itself. That's a nice thought, Rachel said dryly. Even a single photon of light would set off the light sensors, X said. This is complete darkness. And according to Eric, if we step 2 feet away from the wall, we'd run into a maze of ultra-sensitive wires. Any contact, an alarm goes off. We have to travel 40 feet without touching a wire, without touching the floor or ceiling or walls, Jake reminded us. Let's morph. We'll be able to see then, Cassie said. Or maybe not see exactly, but you know what I mean. What she meant was that we would be able to echolocate, kind of like the dolphin morph. We would be able to make very fast, ultra high sounds that the human ear would not even hear. These sounds would vibrate off any solid object and send back a sort of sound picture. At least, that's what we hoped. We had been planning to practice and find out if it was true. Instead, we were morphing without any knowledge of what we were getting into. Sorry, I started to notice my voice was just going to leave me if I didn't get any liquid in me, so. Someday, we'll think all this is funny, I said. You know, if we happen to live long enough. I focused my mind on the Batmorph we had each acquired. They aren't as creepy as people think. Certainly not as creepy as morphing a spider. This particular bat was very small, just a few inches long. It looked like a mouse with huge ears and the face of a Pekingese dog. If you forgot about the leathery wings, it was just another basic mammal. But this was one case where the weirdness wasn't something you saw. I couldn't see anything. Nothing. I couldn't see myself shrinking, the ground rushing up at me. I couldn't see the way my legs shrank to almost nothing and brown fur sprouted from my body. I couldn't see the way my fingers grew so long and a paper thin leathery web filled the spaces between them. I saw none of it. I didn't even know I was a bat until my bat brain sent an order for me to open my mouth and chirp out a pulse of sound. I fired a string of super fast sound pulses, like making a loud machine gun sound, only a lot higher and way, way faster. And then, whoa! I said, the entire black, pitch black, invisible room had just lit up. It wasn't like seeing exactly. It was like, like feeling almost. Except it was like you were feeling from a distance. I felt a vast room. I felt thousands of wires strung taut up and down, left to right at angles. And at the center of the room, beyond the maze of wires, I felt a raised, flat surface and a sort of pedestal. There were curling wires coming from the top of the pedestal. All that came in a flash. Then it was gone. The others each fired off their own echolocating blast, but I couldn't feel their sounds as clearly. Okay, that is cool, Rachel said. That is way cool. The wires seem awfully close together. Cassie worried. I wish we'd had time to try out these wings. I guess all we can do is hope for the best. Trust the bat to do the flying. Abandon yourself to the Force, Cassie Skywalker, I said. Thanks, Darth. You first. Me first? Oh. Suddenly, I didn't feel at all like laughing. I licked my lips with my little bat tongue. Assuming I had lips, I wasn't sure. I opened my wings. I spread them wide and thought, well, this should be interesting. I tested the wings cautiously. They moved differently than bird wings. More like I was reaching out with each stroke to grab the air and push it behind me. Okay, here goes. I fired an echolocating burst and took off. Firing again. There were tight strings all around me. Left, left again, down, no, up, right, left, right, right, straight up. Again and again, the high-pitched sound machine gun fired. Again and again, I dodged millimeters from a wire. It was insane. It was so fast, my human brain was 3 steps behind. It was instantaneous. It was impossible. The speed, the agility, the instant translation of the echolocating blast. And suddenly, I was through. I was through the wires. I landed on the table in the center of the room. It was all over in 10 seconds of lunatic flight. Okay, now that is a roller coaster ride. Yes! I said, incredibly jazzed from having made it. Yes! The others came one by one. I could watch them fly, seeing them in my echolocating flashes. Everyone made it. And we were feeling pretty good about it, too. It was a rush. We did it! I said. These bats can fly, Rachel added. Is that the crystal? Cassie asked. Axe fired a burst and said, that must be it. It was no bigger than a grape. It rested on a small pedestal. Wires, not the sensor wires, but curling electrical type wires, edged in all around it. But the crystal itself was not attached to anything. It just lay there, where anyone could grab it. It made a low sort of humming noise. I know it makes no sense, but it was almost like that crystal was alive. I, I have a stupid question, I said. How do we grab this thing? For about 10 seconds, no one said a word. We don't have hands, Cassie said, pointing out the obvious. We can grab it in our mouths, Rachel said. Right? Bats eat moths and stuff. They must have pretty strong jaws. Strong enough to get that crystal back to the air vent. Oh, duh. Of course, Jake said, sounding relieved. I'll do it. I believe that may not work, Hack said. Jake? Cassie said. Jake, if you have a crystal in your mouth, how do you fire the echolocating burst? At which point we were suddenly no longer feeling so good. I believe our plan now has somewhat of a flaw, Hack said quietly. Okay, hang on just a moment. Sorry, I just started to go into the voice I usually talk to the bird. Just hang on one moment. And yeah, this is a chapter where the whole plan, surprise, surprise, did not go according to plan. And this is actually something that would have been a huge plot hole if the Animorphs weren't teens. Because you have to remember, when they make stupid decisions, sometimes it makes sense because they are teenagers. They are teenagers fighting off an alien invasion, which means, they don't think clearly as clearly as adults. And sometimes adults don't think clearly, but that's that's something for an entirely different day and video. So, they're teenagers, so they'll make some mistakes that, as adults, it's like, why didn't they think of that? But it's like they're kids. I mean, they're going in an impossible situation, and then they had even less time to figure out the obvious because the mission got moved way the fuck up. And so, that obvious thing, as you must realize, is bats see in the dark via echolocation. So they couldn't just carry in their mouse. In fact, these teens were so rushed for this mission and schoolwork and everything else that they didn't even fucking think how they would get the crystal. They were like, okay, here's how we get into the room with the Pemalite Crystal. And that was it. It's like, it's something that the teens would. I would give them more flack for it as an adult because then it'd be like, bats echolocate, so you need the mouth to do that, so you can't just pick it up with the mouth. Adults to be more likely to realize they need to figure out how to get the crystal. But one thing I'm sort of surprised about is that they didn't try thinking of using their little feetsies. Like, could bat feetsies actually hold the crystal like well enough? Like, and then, I don't know exactly how big the bat morph is, how bat feats work. So if you are a bat expert or just really like looking shit up about bats and like love bats and like bats are your favorite animals, uh, would the Animorphs have been able to pick up the Pemalite Crystal with their bat feats? Could that actually be plausible? Yes, no, maybe? Please comment below. Please educate everyone on the wonders of bats. My life. This is my life now. So, oh yeah, Earl, in the very beginning of the chapter, like it seems to be an ongoing thing of this book of Marco feeling left out by Jake and Cassie. Like, why are you getting my friend's attention? And before it's like, okay, I could sort of wave it off, and this time, Jake's best friend nearly dies. And he's like, oh, Cassie, are you okay? It's like, I have argued with you whether or not cheese tastes green. How dare you? But yeah, I really felt for Marco. That was the one time in the book I'm pissed off at Jake. Come on, I nearly died here. Who cares? Okay, the actual question of this video is, let's see. Do I want to do that? Okay. Do you like bats? Like, are you afraid of bats? Do you love bats? Or are you very neutral on the topic of bats? Please comment down below. Also, again, comment below with any bat facts you know. So we can all learn about bats, and this can actually be a little bit educational. And you can also comment below on anything you noticed about this chapter, the good, the bad, the ugly, anything and everything. Let's start a very nerdy conversation. But remember, no major spoilers. I am hoping against hope that people get into Animorphs via these videos. So there's some big twists and turns coming up that you don't want to know they're coming. You want to be utterly surprised and shocked. So, no major spoilers. No major spoilers. No. And I highly recommend Animorphs. Like, this series was my favorite thing ever while growing up, and I love this series even as an adult. I mean, it really holds up. So if you watch this video and you're like, hey, I really like this, I want to get a copy of my own, I post a link to where you can buy a copy of this book everywhere I post this video. So, hey, click it, Kindle and Kindle copy. I use a Kindle version for myself. And also, there's an audiobook out of Animorphs number 10. So, if you want to see an actual professional read, and if you want to help support Animorphs, buy that too. And like this video if you really feel for Marco in the beginning of that chapter. Jake, dude, your best friend nearly died. And remember, subscribe to this YouTube channel because I will not only be reading Animorphs number 10, but I will be reading the entire Animorphs series. And not only will I be, doing the dramatic reading of the entire Animorphs series, as I mentioned before, I'm going to have a long review of Midnight Sun by Stephanie Meyer out. So, yeah. And until next video, goodbye.